React is awesome, right? But what if I told you that jumping straight into React without knowing the basics of JavaScript is like trying to run before you have learned to walk? So, hey guys, welcome back. Today we are talking about something important if you're planning to learn React or any JavaScript framework. Before diving into React, it's really important to first understand the core JavaScript methods and concepts. Think of it this way: if you skip these fundamentals, learning React will feel twice as hard. You might even start mixing up what's React and what's just plain JavaScript. And trust me, you don't want that confusion showing you down. Now, React is designed for building user interfaces, specifically using components. What's cool is that everything in React is written in JavaScript, including the HTML like syntax. This is called JSX and lets you blend HTML and JavaScript together seamlessly. Pretty neat, right? So here is the plan. Instead of winging it and trying to pick up JavaScript as you learn React, we are going to take a more practical approach. In this video, I'll guide you through all the key JavaScript concepts you need to know before diving into React. And don't worry, I'll keep things simple and relatable. Alright, let's get started. So first thing is callback functions in JavaScript. An absolutely essential concept you need to master before jumping into React. So what's a callback function? It is basically a function that gets executed after another function finishes its job. And the cool part, you pass this callback function as an argument to the first function. Why are callbacks so important? Well, they show up everywhere in JavaScript. In array, methods like map and filter, in set timeout for delays, and even in event listeners like click or scroll. So yeah, callbacks are a big deal. Let me show you an example. Imagine you have got a button on your web page and you want to log a custom message every time someone clicks it. Here's how you would do it. See the code example on your screen. Here is what's happening. The add event listener takes a callback function as its second argument. This callback gets executed only when the button is clicked, and in this case we are logging the message in lowercase. Pretty straightforward, right? So mastering callbacks is not just a JavaScript skill, it is something you will use all the time in React too. Now let's move on to the next concept. So one of the most powerful and commonly used methods in JavaScript is map. If you are learning React, this is one method you will find yourself using a lot. So what does map do? It lets you loop over an array and modify its element using a callback function. And the best part, it always returns a brand new array based on what you define in that callback. To make it crystal clear, here is an example. Imagine you have an array of users, each with some basic info. Now let's use map to combine their first and last names and display it with some HTML-like output. So here is what you need to know. Map always creates a new array, even if that array ends up being empty. Second, it does not change the size of the original array, unlike filter, which can remove elements. Third, it works with the value from the original array, so you are transforming the data, not altering it. Now, here is a little pro tip. While map and for each may seem similar, you should always use map when you are returning a value. It is just cleaner and more predictable. And here is why map is a favorite in React. It makes it super easy to take your data and wrap it in JSX, just like how we used HTML here. So mastering map will set you up perfectly for React's component-based structure. Let's keep rolling. It is template literals, a simple yet powerful feature in JavaScript that can make your coding life so much easier. Now think back to the old days of string concatenation. Imagine creating a birthday message for someone. You would have to keep adding quotes and plus signs to include names and other variables. It worked, but it was messy. Sure, it gets the job done, but it is clunky, especially when you are dealing with multiple variables or complex strings. Then came template literals in ES6, and they completely changed the game. Instead of using quotes. Why template literals are awesome? Number one, readability. Your code looks cleaner and makes more sense at a glance. Number two, maintainability. Need to update something? It is all neatly contained within the backticks. Third, expressiveness. You can create multi-line strings and even call functions directly inside the template. Here is an example of how versatile template literals can be. But why are template literals important for React? Well, in React, you are constantly working with dynamic data like generating lists, conditionally rendering components, or creating dynamic content. Template literals makes all of that so much simpler. Let's move on to our next concept, and those are filter and find. Both of these methods are used to search through an array, but they serve different purposes. So let's break them down. The filter method is used when you want to create a new array and only include items that meet certain conditions, unlike map, which always returns the same number of elements as the original array. Filter can change the size of the new array depending on how many items match the condition. Let's say you have an array of users with different ages like this. Now you want to group users into different age ranges, such as teenagers and seniors. This is where filter comes in handy. What happens here is that filter creates two new arrays based on the criteria you give it, one for teenagers and one for seniors. If no items meet the condition, you'll just kick an empty array. Now let's talk about find method. This one is a bit different. Instead of creating a new array, find returns just one item that matches the condition. The moment it finds a match, it stops searching and returns the item. If no match is found, it returns undefined. For example, here find will return the first user whose name is Olivia. If there is no match, it will return undefined. So, to recap, filter creates a new array with all the items that match the condition, and find returns the first item that matches and stops searching once it finds it. Both of these methods are super useful when working with arrays, especially in React when you need to filter out or find specific components or data. Alright, let's move on to the next concept. One of the super handy feature in JavaScript is called destructuring. It is a neat way to easily access and unpack data from arrays and objects. If you're new to it, don't worry, I'll walk you through it step by step. Before destructuring, let's say you have an array of fruits and you want to grab the first, second and third fruit. You would have to do something like this. It works, but it feels like you are repeating yourself a lot. And what if you only want certain fruits, like the first and the last? Well, here's how destructuring simplifies it. That's much cleaner. You can even skip certain items by just leaving commas in the places you don't care about. Now let's look at destructuring objects, which is super useful in React when you're working with props or state. Let's say we have an object representing an user. Without destructuring, you would have to access each property like this. But with destructuring, it's a lot more easier and concise. You can even use destructuring directly inside a function like this. It makes the code so much cleaner and easier to manage, especially when you are dealing with complex objects in React. So that's a quick look at destructuring arrays and objects. It is a small change in syntax, but makes a big difference in readability and ease of use. Trust me, once you get the hang of it, you will wonder how you ever lived without it. Let's move on to the next topic, promises in JavaScript. This feature helps solve some of the biggest challenges when dealing with asynchronous code, like callback hell and the inversion of control problem. Before promises, working with asynchronous operations was messy. You would often find yourself nesting functions inside each other, which made the code harder to read and maintain. That's where promises comes in. A promise is like a promise in real life. It is an agreement that something will be done at some point in the future. In JavaScript, a promise is an object representing the eventual completion or failure of an asynchronous operation. Promises help you organize and chain asynchronous operations in a much cleaner way. They use methods like then to define what to do when the promise is successful, catch to define what to do when the promise fails, finally, to run something no matter what, whether the promise is fulfilled or rejected. Why use promises? Promises allow parallel execution of asynchronous tasks, which makes your application more efficient. They also handle errors in better way, which improves the overall readability of your code. In fact, promises are the foundation for advanced async features like async and wait. So yeah, in this video, we have learned JavaScript methods and concepts that everyone should understand thoroughly before learning React. There are so many other methods and concepts you should know, but these are the ones you might not really pay attention to while learning JavaScript. These are important to understand before you learn React. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.